guys, gals, and non-binary pals, GM Potter here, and today, for Banned Books Week, we will be going over Genderqueer by Maia Kobabe. It's a memoir and a graphic novel. It did receive the American Library Association's Stonewall Honor book for being an LGBTQ plus book of merit. The back blurb says, in Genderqueer, Maia Kobabe has crafted an intensely cathartic autobiography about Air path to identifying as non-binary and asexual and coming out to Air family and society by addressing questions about gender identity, what it means, and how to think about it. The story also doubles as a much-needed, useful, and touching guide. So, you may have heard me use different pronouns for the author. They use what's referred to as Spivak pronouns, which is a, ear, m, such as a has a cool gender, or Spivak pronouns are air pronouns. So I will be doing my best to use those pronouns. They're not the ones that I typically use, but I want to respect the author. So let's get into it. So this book was the most challenged book of 2021. Famously, if you've been anywhere on the internet semi-recently, Jamestown, Michigan, the Patmos Library was defunded in a public election specifically for refusing to pull this book from their shelves. Like, people are that afraid of this book, and the ideas and thoughts contained in it. I will say that it is not a children's book. It is a memoir. It is for adults, but I don't see anything wrong with a high school student reading it. It's got themes and things to think about in it that are universal, I think. Something that really made an impact on me was, while I was reading it, large portions of it felt like I was reading someone tell me a story about my life. There's a section of the book dealing with periods, and the nightmares and the horribleness associated with periods, which I very much relate to. I myself am non-binary, and I feel less like myself when I have my period because it's a constant reminder of a sort of binary, if that makes sense. A also talks about not understanding certain things that have to do with the general female experience, like shaving your legs or wearing makeup or all sorts of things. Like deodorant comes up at one point in the book that A hadn't been wearing deodorant and it was causing people to comment. And I'll be darned if that wasn't in my experience. I had to start wearing deodorant in 4th grade, which is a little younger than the author. My guidance counselor wasn't quite as nice about it. I wasn't pulled aside privately. I was made the butt of a joke in my class by my teacher about it. So, yeah, I get that. That just not understanding why it is that you don't feel the way that you assume everybody else feels and the way other people tell you they feel. And it deals with relationships, and while A is asexual, meaning they don't really experience sexual attraction, they experience it more in an abstract, or A experiences it more in an abstract. They still crave companionship, and I think that's really important. My partner Stephen read this book as well and really related to the asexuality themes of it, that he felt it was telling his story too. So if two people can read this book and feel seen in a way that they don't normally feel seen, what exactly is the harm in this book? Why are people so scared of it, so afraid of it? Well, I don't know if I can show you the pictures, but there's really only 2 of them that deal with nudity or sexual content. Well, I suppose there's a third, but I don't think it's not a sexual image. It's more of a body horror image. A is talking about having to get a pap smear, and the pain and the uncomfortableness and everything involved in that. They have themselves doubled over, crying, naked, with a pin, like you would pin an insect to a board, stabbed clear through them. And that was pretty close to my first experience having a pelvic exam. It was uncomfortable, it was painful, it was humiliating at the same time. Um, it it's horrible. There's also a scene of a simulated blowjob, which it's simulated. It's not even a real blowjob, like, because A doesn't have a penis. And there's also a scene inspired by Greek art of two men touching each other naked. It's 100%. It's 100% drawn from classical Greek art, which it could be pedophilic, but it's not really, because in the illustration in the book, they're two older males. The art that it's based on is usually an older and a younger male, often an underage male. But in the book, which, if you're talking about banning the book, we need to talk about, the book. It's not, and I kept waiting while I was reading this book. I read it in 2 sittings. I had to stop after the period stuff because it just felt... I was on my period at the time while I was reading that, and it just reminded me of all the horrible things that I was trying to forget about while I was reading. But not in a bad way. Like in an I understand and you're not alone way. But I didn't want to be reminded of them just the same. I kept reading, waiting for the other shoe to drop, for something horrible, for something shocking. And I don't know if it's just my experience. I don't know if it's the fact that this book has been so banned and so controversialized and sensationalized that it just wasn't. Like, I almost want to say that I was disappointed in the lack of shocking context of this book, but I don't want to say that I was disappointed in the book, because it's really well written. It's powerfully written. It's masterfully written. I heartily recommend that everyone read this book who has any interest in learning about people who are gender non-conforming or people who are asexual. That if you have any interest in learning or understanding or comprehending anybody who feels this way, I think it's a very important book to read, and I can't recommend it highly enough. I bought the book myself as soon as I found out that it was banned for its content, and I was like, ooh, banned book, gotta buy it. And I just now got around to reading it, and it's utterly fantastic. It's a little bit of a downer. Most memoirs are. But it also ends with hope and with growth, which I think is important for the storytelling aspects. Yeah, have you read Genderqueer? What did you think about it? What do you think about banned books in general? Do you think that we should be burning books or banning books or censoring books? Personally, I don't. I really don't. I don't think any book should be banned or censored or burned, because that's information. It's someone's thoughts. It's, as a writer myself, it's a part of someone's soul. Each book is a tiny part of the author, and I don't know, I couldn't stand in myself to destroy part of another human being, even if I don't agree with that human being. So let me know what you think down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!